Okay, back to my documents. My guides will stay put as I start putting things in. I don't have to worry about accidentally moving them. I need a text frame. And actually, a text frame, I can take this rectangle, or I can take this rectangle frame tool, and either one of these could be a text frame. This would be like for a picture, but if I start typing in it, it's a type frame. If I start typing this, it's a type frame. So, or I can take my text tool and drag a frame to match my guides, but then remember, so that is snapped to my guides on all four sides. But at the top, I'm told by the designer or the art director or the creative director that the gray area actually should go to the top edge of the ad. Okay, what goes in there? Well, my text. Command D place. I can find the pleasure add text, the folder for pleasure add text someplace else, and drag and drop it into here. But since I did a Command D, just double click on that, and there's my text. The background of the frame should be 20% gray or 20% black, actually. So we'll make this a black fill, but where it says tint in the swatch palette, I'll change that to 20%. And then again, the nothing has a stroke on it. There's no stroke on the frame, and there will be no stroke on the outside of the ad. Okay, the headline. Type style is Adobe Caslin Bold. It's 48 point on a lead of 36 points. And the color is white or reverse out or paper. So paper colored. It should be centered, so I'll center align it. Also do that with Command Shift C to center, Command Shift L left, Command Shift R right, Command Shift J for justify. But this one's going to be centered. And it's got to move down some. So I'm going to Command B, text frame options, and move my first baseline down by probably adding, let's try adding a 1 pica inset to that at the top. And then on my general text frame settings, I'm going to make all of these equal. And the actual text column is supposed to be 25p4. The ad is 5 inches wide or 30 picas wide. If you take a pica off of each side, that leaves 28 picas wide. But it's supposed to be 25p4. So what I would do is start increasing this inset number until what's left here is 25p4. So that's 1 pica, 4 points inset all the way around. And that made my headline move down. So I'll have to go back and unlink the 4 sides and change the top inset back to 1 pica. And that puts my headline back where it's supposed to be. I have to remove excess returns. There should be no double returns. Command C copy, Command F find, Command V paste, or doing this as much as I do, I know that it's $P, and I could just type that in there. Or you can go to the @ and find end of paragraph, or type $P. So I'm going to find every $P, and place it with a single $P throughout my document, which is only 1 text frame, only 1 page. Change all, and there's 5 of them that needed to go. Okay, now we see where this type is relative to my headline. Before I figure out exactly how to place that, I'm going to put my cursor at the beginning of the non-headline text, Command Shift End, which selects all of the other text in the frame. and make that Adobe Caslin Pro regular, and the size should be 10 on 13. And now I can see where my first line is, and I see it's got to move down considerably. Well, you don't want to just stick returns in. That's not a professional way to do things. What you want to do is select the headline in the paragraph panel at the top. Add some space after to move the type down. That should be about right. So far, so good. What's next? Well, the headline doesn't look quite right, does it? This should be a capital P. This should be a capital I, capital A, and a capital Y. That looks better. I need rules above and below, and there's a simple way to do rules. The requirement of this project is that you only have 3 objects in the entire ad. You have a text frame, you have a picture of a car, and you have the logo. And those are the only objects you're allowed to do on this ad. The rest you have to do typographically. And the way we do this is Command Option J, paragraph rules, or in the paragraph palette, you can find it over here on the right side in the hamburger menu for that, paragraph rules, or on the paragraph palette, hamburger menu, paragraph rules. If you do it enough, it's Command Option J. We need a rule above. I'll turn the preview on. We don't want it to be the text color. It's supposed to be a black rule, so make it black. We need a rule below, and it also should be black. Now, that doesn't seem like where we want it, does it? So there's a couple of things we need to do. The rule below needs to not run into the baseline of the type, so I'm going to use the offset to move it down some comfortable distance. I'm not sure. We'll see how it looks at the top. And then the rule above, I'm going to offset that, and that one has to go up considerably, probably to about there. What's next? Well, some trickier stuff. First of all of this stuff is supposed to be justified, so let's just do this before we forget. And that's either on the paragraph palette, justify with the last line aligned left, or you can do Command Shift J. You'll also find that in the paragraph panel at the top. Now, how do we get this to do what we want it to do? Well, I'm going to straighten something out first. This has to end up being part of the same paragraph, so I'll put a soft return here. Now, noting that this is justified, it spreads out my first line. But if I, in front of the soft return, that's shift return, hit the shift tab, that pushes what's on the left to the left and what's on the right to the right. In this particular case, there's nothing on the right except the return. Delete the stop. This should be Command Shift B. Do I get semi-bold? I do. Okay, so, well, but I don't want that. I want this to be bold. So when you use Command Shift B to change it to bold in this, which has 3 basic weights, regular, semi-bold, and bold, it takes the semi-bold instead of the bold. But I want this to be bold. I want the P to be semi-bold. I want the P to be reverse out or paper colored or white. And then I want it to be a 2-line drop cap. So going back to my paragraph control panel, drop cap for 2 lines. So far, so good. And you know what? I would put just a little bit of positive kerning in there to keep the U from running into the P. That looks a little peculiar when it does. So far, so good. Now at this point, I'm going to get rid of double spaces that the copywriter so religiously put in, or after the full stops, and I need to get rid of those. So Command F, find and replace, space, space, replace with space. And incidentally, to get from this window to this one, since I'm using the keyboard to type in things, I don't want to grab the mouse. I hit the tab key. If I need to go back up, Shift Tab gets me back to the other one. Throughout the document, I want to find space, space, and replace it with space. Change all. There were 13 of those, and so that's fixed now. I always do things like this just one more time to make sure there isn't some place where they put 3 returns in a row or 3 spaces in a row, in which case it would delete one and then skip the next one. So far, so good. I have 2 hyphens here at the end of this line. That looks terrible. That's really unprofessional typography. So I need to do something to improve my spacing. Command Option Shift J, justification settings, or you will find it at the paragraph panel hamburger menu in the right side, or on the paragraph palette in that hamburger menu, justification. But I think at this point, what we're going to do is set up paragraph styles for this. Paragraph styles make work easier, allows you to repeat things that you need to repeat without having to do a lot of manual work. I usually explain to classes that I don't do these things because I'm lazy. I do things that save time because I have so much to do. So a little labor-saving device here. Find my paragraph styles palette, which conveniently is right there floating with my paragraph palette. Select this and say new paragraph style and call it something I can identify, like drop cap text, for example. And then make sure that it's actually applied to this. See, right now I'm still on basic, but I want it to be drop cap text so it actually picks up all of the things I just created. Double click on that and see what I've gotten here. Basic character is Adobe Caslin Pro, regular 10 on 13, using metric kerning, normal case, normal position, no tracking. Advanced properties, indents and spacing. This is where I could do space before or space after, but the instructions say there is no space before or space after. And there are no paragraph indents except for on the hanging indents where we have the numbered paragraphs. Drop caps and nested styles. You'll note that I have a drop cap of 2 lines for 1 character. No character style. Well, I'm going to create a new character style, which is RO, R period, O period. I'll call it call out, RO call out. All right, so it's a reverse out for the call outs. And the only thing I will apply here is character color is going to be paper. Oh, I want to make sure that actually, come to think of it, that it is semi-bold. Let's make sure it's Adobe Caslin Pro also, because otherwise I'll get a really long list of font styles that don't apply. Semi-bold. Okay. Now I also have a bunch of other stuff here that's bold, the rest of the call out. So I can do that as a nested style. So through the first, let's say, forced return, because I do have a forced return there, forced line break, it'll be a new character style called, I'm just going to call it Adobe Caslin Bold. Basic character format, Adobe Caslin style bold. And again, nothing else that I actually have to change in any of these other settings. Okay, so that's my new style. I'll say okay. Now, if I did this correctly, and I delete the stop on the next paragraph, hit Shift Tab, and then a soft return, and then apply that drop cap, it should look just like the other one. I can take an eyedropper and sample this paragraph and probably apply it to this one. That didn't quite work out because I forgot to do this. I've got to Shift Tab here, Shift Return, delete that, and delete that period. And I need to do the same thing for the last paragraph. Shift Tab, Shift Return, and delete those. And now I have two options here. I can either use the eyedropper to copy that style from the previous paragraph, or the other thing you can do, if it's a succeeding paragraph, is do a backspace to delete this paragraph return of the previous paragraph, and then hit the return key again. And since you, by deleting that paragraph return, you make this part of the previous paragraph, it has to be the same style. And then if you hit the return key, you've made a new paragraph in that same style. Okay, justification settings. Now that I have this all set up with paragraph styles, just enough showing that I can see clearly what I've got here, I'm gonna go back and be careful when I'm touching here. I'm gonna not have anything selected. Go back to my drop cap paragraph style and go into the justification settings and get away from these default settings, which are way too wide, and try something else, and then allow a little adjustment to letter spacing. I might even tighten it up a little and give it just a little bit of margin for adjustment in glyph scaling, so that it's, if it has to, we'll squeeze or stretch them a little, but it shouldn't be noticeable. Hyphenation. I don't see a lot of hyphenation going on there, but just to be on the safe side, I'll say no words shorter than 6 letters, not before the first 3 letters, and before the last 3 letters. Hyphenation limit of 1. Hyphenation zone doesn't really matter in justified composition, but I'll make it 1.5 anyway. I won't have hyphenate capitalized words or the last word in a paragraph, and I don't have any columns, so this doesn't really matter. It's just one column. There won't be more than one column. And that looks good enough for now.